So good afternoon, CPAC. I'm not sure how many of you saw the images this morning, but we do have to start on a somewhat somber note. There were these terrible images of babies being returned in coffins from Gaza to Israel this morning there. And I want to toss it to the Israeli Minister of Diaspora Affairs and Combating Anti-Semitism, Amichai Chikli, is going to lead us in a moment of silence for these deceased hostages.
So we have experienced one of the most toughest days since the beginning of the war. It is an extremely difficult day in Israel with the returning of the bodies of Shiri, Kfir, Ariel, Bibas, two little children and their mothers, along with Oded Lifshitz from Kibbutz Nir Oz. And I think if we can take a moment of silence before we begin.
Thank you. So tragically, these images this morning really do set the scene for our broader conversation here. And first of all, let me just make a brief point. You guys all heard from Vice President J.D. Vance this morning. Vice President J.D. Vance said it very well about a month and a half, 2 months ago, where he said the message should not be bring them home for the hostages. The message should be let them go. Let them go.
No, absolutely.
That is the message.
That's a major shift. That the new administration is coming with a new spirit. You know, for decades we've heard this sentence, Israel has the right to defend itself. But this is obvious, and no other state needs to mention that they have the right to defend itself. And this administration is coming with a different message, that Israel has the right and it's obliged to eliminate its enemies, to eradicate evil, as Marco Rubio said. And this is a totally different approach. And this is how you win wars.
Well, in many ways, Amichai, I think Israel is teaching the West how to win a war, which the West has not really done, frankly, since World War II. But I want to just briefly talk about the broader war, which is the war for Western civilization actually itself. What is Western civilization? We talk about it here. To me, Western civilization is basically synonymous with the Bible. It all ultimately goes back, as we two Jews know all too well, to God's revelation to Moses at Mount Sinai. I mean, when we talk about defending the West, guys, Jews and Christians alike, we're talking about defending those very values and that very way of life. And Israel is not just the canary in the coal mine for all of these fights, but anti-Semitism itself, as you know in your role, it is a direct attack not just on the Jews, but on all of this, on all of Western civilization.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, President Reagan ended the Cold War, and we thought that this war ended, but it never ended. It just wore a different face. And we saw it in universities all across Europe. We saw it on universities here in America. And the woke progressive movement is just another face of the Marxist movement. And in its root, this is a godless philosophy that denies the idea of truth. And when you deny the idea, the concept of truth, there is no good and bad. There is no right and wrong. There is no option for moral clarity. And this is how you can defeat the West from within. That is the effort that made by the woke progressive movement, and this is a threat not just for the state of Israel. This is a threat for America, and this is a threat for Western civilization. And I think that we need to restore those very basic values. And as President Trump says, we want to put God back on the stage, because without God, what is truth? What is right and wrong and good and bad? And it all comes from our common values and our common tradition. And that is, I think, a new era. And I'm very optimistic that with moral clarity, we can achieve amazing things together, Israel and the United States, and lead the free world into a better future.
So one of the things that we were talking about backstage a little bit is that, you know, we in the United States, we in the West more broadly, I think have forgotten what actual evil looks like. We have forgotten that evil exists. Personally, I became a conservative at 12 years old on 9/11 because I saw the smoke from the Twin Towers with my own eyes. And I think many people in this post-October 7th environment are rising to that same realization. But we can't talk about evil, I think, specifically without talking about the Iranian regime, which is really kind of the root of the overwhelming majority of evil, not just in the Middle East, but frankly around the world more broadly. Maybe you could just talk a little bit about the specific threat from the Iranian regime and its proxies, and I think you might have a bit of a revelation for us when it comes to Iran.
I came with some news, but before one word about the concept of evil. I think that, it's frightening to expose our kids to the fact that, yes, the monster beneath the bed really exists. There is evil in this world, and we want, to push away our children and the younger generation to believe that evil does not exist. We in Israel, unfortunately, even those of us who thought that there is no evil, met evil on its worst option on October 7th. We saw evil today in Gaza with the horrors of how the Hamas celebrated this moment of bringing the Bibas family and Oded Lifshitz. And I think that we have failed in the recent decades on educating our kids that evil exists, and we need to confront, and we need to fight, and we need to sacrifice, just like as we have done in the past decades. And this is something which I think that is also changing, and I'm also optimistic regarding to it, although it cost at a very high price. Now, with the Iranian regime, in Iran, Khomeini, who started the Iranian Revolution, he set America as the great Satan and Israel as the small Satan. Iran was and Iran is an enemy of America, an enemy of the State of Israel. And they are very determined in their efforts with their proxies. And one thing which is amazing that I would like to share with you, we have made a research and we found out that this entire campaign that tries to connect between Israel and genocide in Gaza, which is a ridiculous claim, because what we have in Gaza is a terror regime that seeks to commit genocide on our villages, on our communities. And what we found out, that this entire campaign started with the Revolutionary Guards posting again and again and again the message until it got received in the Western Hemisphere in Britain, with also Persian accounts, and then it got spread out. And we can see in the research that any time that the trend of the genocide in Gaza is going down, they are pushing more and more tweets from fake accounts, and this is an entire campaign that was led by Iran, and this is the first time that we can share it publicly with you here in CPAC.
So this is a very, very big deal. I mean, this is an old tactic of the enemies of Western civilization. The Soviets did it once upon a time, trying to foment civic discord here in the United States, and now we see the face of evil yet again in the face of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So, Amichai, the good news right now is that we have an administration here, the Trump-Vance administration, that is wholly committed, that is wholly dedicated not just to allowing Israel to fight our mutual enemies, but to actually combating anti-Semitism as well. And it's just a timely reminder that we are so blessed, truly, so blessed to be here at CPAC with good guys in charge, unlike the last 4 years, to be here at CPAC with guys who understand what the West is and what we stand for. So I know that you've had some meetings in your time in Washington here. Why don't you just talk a little bit about what it looks like from your perspective, what the administration is currently doing?
So in the past few weeks, this administration has done more to combat anti-Semitism than in the entire past 4 years. And I'm speaking about, first, putting the task force led by Leon Torel, which is an amazing individual, an amazing leader, totally committed to combat anti-Semitism. And we met him this morning, and he is an amazing individual. I think we're going to see a shift in everything that regards combating anti-Semitism. also the defunding on universities who failed to combat anti-Semitism on universities, and many more decisions by this administration. And I think that this administration fully gets it. And it's also worth telling that with the previous administration, not just that almost nothing happened, but the message was so ambiguous, and we saw the IRA definition being undermined. And I think it was very, very weak. And you know, actions speaks louder than words. And I think that this administration speaks with actions and not with big words. And I really love it. And I think it is also, it is a blessing for the Jewish community, for minorities, and for American people.
You know, Teddy Roosevelt, the president, famously spoke of the man in the arena. That's his famous speech. And Donald Trump is nothing but the man in the arena. He is nothing if not that right now. So God bless Donald Trump. Amen. And God bless you, Amichai, and God bless you, CPAC. Thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.